So in this video, I want to talk about the problem with hype. And it's not hype itself that I have a problem with, but how people perceive hype. So to go into a bit of detail itself, one of the problems that I have with the anime community is when something gets hyped up a lot and people go into a series not because they think it's interesting, but because of the hype itself. And there are many case examples of this happening, whether it's Demon Slayer, or it's My Hero Academia, or if it's Eminence in the Shadow, Mushoku Tensei, Shield Hero, or something recently brand new airing is Frieren. And that series has been hyped up a lot because its first episode was a 93 episode, which is technically broken up to 4 parts on Crunchyroll, and it is going to be a double course 6 months of weekly releases of this series based on a manga. And so there's been a lot of hype on this series, and I myself watched the 4 episodes, but I very much and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I also knew what I was going in for because I did read the synopsis and I did watch the trailer. So I went into it knowing the basics, not what it was about, because no, I have not read the manga. I don't know anything about the manga. I've not even read a single chapter, but I watched the trailer and I read the synopsis, and so I knew what I was going in for. I basically, an equivalent of a sort of a easy way to break it is I went into a food store and I taste tested the product before I purchased the product. In this case, I didn't purchase the product, I'm just streaming it, but you get what I mean. And I think this is one of the problems with the anime community. And this isn't just an anime consumption problem from a viewer standpoint, this is also a content creator problem as well. And I'm not calling out anyone by name, this isn't a name calling situation or me trying to dig drama, but I just think it's an issue with the community as a whole. People are watching shows based on hype and not based on if it seems interesting to them. I do not have a problem with hype. I want to be very clear. Hype itself is not a problem. If you love a series, you should hype it up. If you love Eminence in the Shadow, Shield Hero, Mushoku Tensei, all this series, Frieren, you should hype it up. Tell your friends, but explain why you're hyped about it. And that is something that I think more people need to do, is explain why they're hyped about a series. But I don't think it's even that's a problem. I think it's people that only see hype and don't think to do a little bit of research before they go into a series. Because I think too many people see hype and automatically assume because it's hyped, it's made for them, or if it's hyped, that they're going to like it. And I see this so much, and especially with Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei went through this problem. It was hyped up a lot by the light novel community, saying all these things about it, but didn't really actually fully explain it. They were just like, yeah, it's really amazing. It's based on this really big, deep, open world. The characters are awesome, super deep, and yeah, you're gonna love it. And it's like, okay. Then you go into it, but you don't realize why they love it. They don't explain that the reason why they love it is because of Rudy and the flaws and the depth and the character development that goes through his journey, explaining that yes, he is a very flawed character, that he has done a lot of stupid things, but seeing him grow and being reincarnated and having that opportunity to make new friends, to make new experiences, and to get over his past trauma from his past life, and kind of explain maybe, this is a character that has made some fundamental mistakes. Or you look at Shield Hero, where the main protagonist has gone through a false accusation and is having to deal with the repercussions of being accused of a crime that he has never committed, having to be backed into a corner and having to do some things that aren't particularly beloved, like having to purchase a slave and bring them up and train them and take care of them and nurture them and give them the freedom that they deserve and allow them to fight on their own 2 feet and protect the things that they care about. And then you also look at Eminence in the Shadow, explaining that the main protagonist is a complete wonkos that goes around beating his head on a bush, runs in front of a truck, gets reincarnated and creates an imaginary world in his head that actually is ended up fictional and has a large cast of hot, really attractive women throwing themselves kind of at him, but he's oblivious to it. And then you look at Frieren, a beautiful, slow-burning story about the passage of time, about self-discovery. At least this is what I've perceived from the first 4 episodes in the synopsis, is learning about themselves, learning about others, and learning about the passage of time and the importance of the moment. And that is something that I think people need to remember, is do a bit of research on the series before just going based on hype and hype alone. And I think a big problem is content creators watching a series purely because of the hype, because they know that, hey, if this series is hyped, I'm going to watch it because, well, it's going to get me views, it's going to get me attention. And so they watch it, but then they realize, oh, this isn't actually for me, because they didn't do a little bit of research into what it's about. They watch it and then they are miserable. They force themselves to watch something because of the hype. And then that's when fans get annoyed at them, because they're miserable in it. They can see that they're miserable. They're not analyzing it properly. They're not reviewing it properly. They're not giving a good reaction. They're just kind of like, it's alright, whatever. And they start getting a little bit to the point where it starts to grind on the fans, because they start nitpicking at silly things, or they're just overly critical. And it's that point where people go, hey, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. But they force themselves through it because of the hype, because they feel that they need to. And that's just one of the downsides about YouTube and the algorithm. But I think as a community as a whole, I think we need to stop looking at hype as a form of measurement on whether an anime is good, and see, oh, that's hype, but I'll look into it first before I go full nosedive in and see if it's for me, rather than just going purely based on hype and hype alone, because I think that is leading to a negative experience for anime fans, and it's also leading to a lot of toxicity, because a lot of fans are going into a series purely based on a hype measurement and going, well, it's hyped, it has to be good, and then realizing it's not made for them. Because at the end of the day, we are all different. We all have different opinions. We have different tastes, whether it's in music, food, anime, games, you name it. We all have different tastes. That's why there are waifu wars out there, because people fight over who's best girl. Rias versus Akuno, Albedo versus Xiaotia, Eris versus Sylvia versus Roxy versus Sarah versus Ellen Elise versus Zenith. Like, there's all these different tastes that people have, and that's perfectly fine. But you've got to remember to make sure that you know what you're going into before you do. I mean, it's one of the biggest complaints when it comes into the gaming industry, is people buying a game purely based on promise or hype, and then being like, oh, this game, I don't like it. And it's like, well, make sure you do the research. Watch a YouTube video, watch an analysis channel, watch a review channel. Get an idea of what the series is about. And that's something that I make sure to do every time I get into a series. I make sure I do the basic research and read it, like the synopsis, or watch a trailer. Probably both, especially with this particular series, Frieren. I made sure I watched the trailer and I read the synopsis, so I knew what I was getting into, so I wasn't going in blind and being shocked, and it exceeded my expectations. I'm very happy with the series. I really like the series, and I'm looking forward to future episodes, but I at least knew the basics. I didn't just go into it and go, oh, people said this is good, thus means it's good. That's not a good measurement to use, and I think that's something we need to move away from, because what it leads to is people going, oh, this is overhyped because I don't like it. I don't like using the word overhyped, because I think the word overhyped is used in a way of belittling, derogatory. It's used as a way for people to just say, your hype is meaningless because I don't like it, or they're saying it's not valid. Because at the end of the day, if you like something, you should be able to hype it up because you're enjoying it. And that's what's important. But I think the word overhyped is a reflex because people are not doing the research. And that is their own fault. That's not the hype's fault. That's your fault. If you're going into a series purely based on hype and not doing the basic research, that's a you problem, not the anime's fault. The resources are out there. There's plenty of resources to get the basic idea without getting heavy spoilers. Now, of course, you've got to be careful on YouTube because, yeah, some people do spoil stuff, but that's why you find content creators that you can trust, that have similar tastes to you. And I'm the type of person that loves power fantasies. I love isekais, but I'm not just exclusive isekais. I do like a bit of a mixture of just power fantasies and maybe some isekais with a power fantasy, and I also love my romances as well, and series that like to go in a little bit deep, but then I also love my Eminence in the Shadow, where things are just absolute wonkers or crazy, but I like to make sure I explain why I love something, not that I just love it. So I hope that explains things. If you do have any further questions about why I feel the way I do about certain topics, and you'd like me to dig deeper into certain topics, definitely say in the comment section down below. But of course, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.